Chapter 4. Passover, Pentecost, and the fasts. The ceremonial institutions marking the observance of the Jewish holidays in the synagogue proper constitute the subject matter of this and the next chapter. The occasion engaging our attention first is Passover, because it is the first festival celebrated in the order of the Jewish calendar months. Before proceeding to a description of its peculiar public observances, a word on the Jewish religious calendar is not only in order but also necessary. I call the calendar religious because in matters non-religious or secular, that mode of reckoning obtains among Jews, which their non-Jewish neighbors follow. The Jewish calendar is the lunar calendar. Every month consists of either 29 or 30 days and is regulated by the revolution of the moon around the earth. New moon always indicates the beginning of the new month. The ordinary year consists of 12 lunar months, making 353, 354, or 355 days in all. Noting from this difference between the lunar year and the solar year of 365 days, that in a very short time holidays would be shifted very far from their appointed season. The question arises, in what way is this difficulty offset? 7 times in every cycle of 19 years, as is in the Metonic calendar, provision is made for a leap year by the addition of a 13th month. The leap years are the 3rd, 6th, 8th, 11th, 14th, 17th, and 19th of every cycle of 19 years. The names of the month, which are of Babylonian origin, a fact which the Talmud testifies, are Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Ab, Elul, Tishri, Heshvan, Kislev, Tebeth, Shabbat, Adar. Well, the name of the 13th month in the case of leap year is Adar. Sheni are the second Adar. The first month, Nisan, occurs in the spring and begins either in March or April. Nisan is made the first month because in this month the exodus from Egypt, marking the beginning of Israel's national life, took place. The Jewish calendar is also arranged that the first day of the 7th month, Tishrei, cannot fall on Sunday, Wednesday, or Friday, in order to prevent the Day of Atonement from occurring on a Friday or Sunday, because the preparation of food is forbidden on the Sabbath, and to prevent the last day of the Feast of Booths from happening on a Saturday. So that there's reason to think that the forbidding it to occur on those days is, an afterthought. And there never was one Jewish calendar. It seems that perhaps the oldest among the Israelites was a 12-month rotating calendar. As far as the monotheistic tradition is concerned. And for those who matched it up with the solar calendar, how were they going to do that? Were they going to have things observed in terms of weeks or otherwise? In terms of adding an extra week or month or days or however they were going to do it. And to prevent the last day of the Feast of Booths from happening on Saturday. Whenever the beginning of Tishrei threatens to fall on Sunday, Wednesday, or Friday, a day is added to the passing year and taken from the immediately following one. The earliest times and great difficulty attached to the observance of holidays on the same day by all Jews. But the difficulty was easily met. The new moon had to be proclaimed by Sanhedrin, and by the time you had something called Judaism, they knew how to predict the new moons, but the sighting of the crescent was what Scripture called for, and the Sanhedrin, would confirm it. And there are still Jews that do that, and it seems like the Jews have international moon sighting. As soon as it's confirmed that Jews have witnessed the waxing crescent of the moon, then there's not this national thing. You know, it doesn't matter what country it is, people accept it. And those who accept the calculation of the new moon rather than the crescent are the crescent rather, the new moon before sunset or whatever they've decided. Then, you know, they seem to be in agreement with that. I don't know any difference of, okay, when the likelihood of the crescent, and we're just going to calculate it. I don't know of that opinion personally, but it's probably out there. As soon as 2 witnesses testified before this august body as to the appearance of the new moon, and their testimony was found to be based on fact, the people living in Palestine, Syria, and Babylon were notified of the new moon either by messengers or fire signals given on tops of hills. If no witnesses were found to testify, the day on which the new moon was expected was added to the preceding month. The celebration of festivals depended altogether on the proclamation of the new moon by the Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin is kind of how they make it sound like you would say it. There were, however, communities whom word could not reach in time for the observance of the month's beginning, celebrated as a half-holiday, in order to effect simultaneity of observance among all Jews. Those living too far from the seat of the Sanhedrin to be informed in time celebrated not only 2 days at the beginning of the month, namely the last day of the passing month and the first day of the coming month, but also 2 days of festive occasions on which, according to scriptures, a holy convocation was ordered. Rosh Hashanah, the first day of the 7th month, the day of memorial, was observed even by Palestinian Jews for 2 days, while the Day of Atonement was observed everywhere for only 1 day. Owing to the strain which fasting produced on the human body, in the great majority of congregations, the celebration of holidays for 2 days is still continued, although unnecessary since the formation of an exact calendar. The Jews have been in possession of a correctly computed calendar since the middle of the 4th century, the work of Hillel II, or Hillel the Younger, as he is commonly called. In order not to neglect the observance of days commanded by the Jewish law, every member of the synagogue, as a rule, provides himself with a calendar every year. The Hebrew equivalent for calendar is luach, which originally denotes a table or tablet. These calendars contain not only the Hebrew dates and the corresponding secular dates, but indicate festivals and holy seasons, and the sections read from the scrolls in the synagogue on the various Sabbaths of the year. But to return to Pesach, Passover. It is the holiday celebrated from the eve of the 15th of Nisan, either March or April, for 7 days among some Jews and for 8 days among most of them, in commemoration of the deliverance of ancient Israel from Egyptian slavery. It is known by the name Feast of Unleavened Bread because of the absence of all leaven from Jewish homes and the use of only the unleavened as enjoined in Exodus 12:15, 13:7, and other passages. Only the 1st and 7th days are, according to scriptures, holy convocations, while the rest are half holidays. Although as indicated in the discussion of the Jewish calendar, the 2nd and additional 8th days are dignified as full holidays, according to the Shulchan Aruch, the work of Joseph Caro, referred to before. No morning addresses are to be delivered during the whole month of Nisan on account of the joy which should mark the celebration of Israel's emancipation from slavery. Fasting was also interdicted with the exception of the fast enjoined upon the firstborn males on the day preceding Passover in commemoration of the fact that the firstborn Israelites were spared the 10th plague which befell Egypt. If the eve of Passover happens to fall on Saturday, the firstborn fast on Thursday preceding. Passover is more of a family feast, provided the number of ceremonial institutions determines its character. In the synagogue proper, there are very few special features to be observed in addition to the reading of the Psalms of thanksgiving and glorification, incorporated into the regular service or taking the place of part of it. During the forenoon, an additional service of the first day of Passover, which follows immediately upon the return of the scrolls to the ark. The prayer for rain recited during the entire autumn and winter, beginning with the Feast of Assembly to be spoken of later, is discontinued, and the prayer for dew is inserted in its place. The reading of these prayers is, as may be already seen, based altogether upon Palestinian climatic conditions, and hardly upon conditions obtaining in other countries. A custom worthy of note, which is begun immediately after the evening service on the day after the second day of Passover, and continued until the Feast of Weeks, namely for 50 days, is the counting of the Omer. An Omer is a measure about the size of half of a gallon. It contained a small specimen of the first harvest brought by the ancient Israelites as an offering to the priest. When, as pilgrims, they came to Jerusalem on this feast, the institution of counting is based on the following. From Leviticus 23:15 and 16. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering. 7 Sabbaths shall ye complete, even unto the morrow. After the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days. The counting is prescribed by a blessing which reads, Praised art thou, God is a noun and verb, our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us by his commandments, and has commanded us to count the days of the Omer. And matter of counting is as follows. And this is the day since the Omer. After 7 days, the number of weeks in the Omer is also specified. The days of counting are called the Sephirah. During this time, the Jews do not marry or give banquets. As it is a season replete with sad memories, massacres of Jews took place at this time, both during the reign of the Emperor Hadrian and the Crusades. The 32nd day of the Omer, the 18th of Iyar, is however accepted. Joyous occasions may be celebrated at this time. According to tradition, a plague which raged among the disciples of Rabbi Akiba, 135 of the Common Era, was on this day stayed. In some congregations, a tablet is suspended from the wall of the synagogue, indicating the exact day of the Omer season. Before the closing of the subject of Passover, it should be stated that on it the Song of Songs is read, owing to the seasonable suggestion of the verse, Behold, the winter is gone. Song of Songs 2:15. And because the Song of Songs is, by the rabbis, said to teach the espousal of Israel to the beloved and God, the lover, which took place in the time of the first Passover in gray antiquity, on the 6th day of the 3rd month called Sivan, occurring either in May or June, the Jews celebrate a feast which, according to Deuteronomy 16:10, is called the Feast of Weeks because occurring at the expiration of 7 full weeks after the 2nd day of Passover. In Leviticus 23:16, it is identified with the 50th day of the counting of the Omer. According to Ezekiel 23:16, is the feast of the early harvest gathered in Palestine, on which the offering of the first fruit had to be brought to Jerusalem. This custom of bringing the offering of the last fruit has been replaced in many an Occidental synagogue by decorating the Jewish house of worship with trees, plants, and flowers. The feast is known also by the name Day of the Giving of the Law because of an existing tradition to the effect that the revelation of God's word to Israel at Mount Sinai took place on the 6th day of the 3rd month. Often termed the marriage anniversary of Israel to God, a great portion of the modern European and American synagogues has selected this day as the time on which young men and women are confirmed or formally accepted as active members of their faith. In addition to selected holiday prayers and chants, the day is not celebrated by distinct ceremonies. The biblical scroll read on this festival is the Book of Ruth because it tells of Ruth's acceptance of the true faith and the harvest of the first fruits in the fields of Boaz. In many congregations, the night preceding the Feast of Weeks is observed in the schoolrooms of the synagogue by a watch, during which passages from the scriptures and Talmudical books are recited. This institution has its origin in the 3 days preparation enjoined upon ancient Israel. See Exodus 19:10-12, A similar watch is held the seventh night of the Feast of Tabernacles, to be explained later. The watch, in most cases, includes a repast. During medieval times, the Feast of Weeks was the occasion on which every male child at 5 years of age and at a latter age of physically weak was introduced to school life. He was given his first lesson in Hebrew, and in the synagogue was offered the opportunity of hearing the 10 Commandments read from a scroll, since these constitute a part of the day's scriptural section. On the 17th of the 4th month, Tammuz, a fast day, is observed in the synagogues, conforming to rabbinical law, in commemoration of the breach made in the wall of Jerusalem. Another fast is celebrated on the 9th of the 5th month, Ab, in memory of the destruction of both the first and second temples. During the 3 weeks intervening between these two fasts, many Jews abstain from pleasure and the use of meat in their diet. Some impose this restriction upon themselves only during the 8 days immediately preceding the 9th of Ab, the fast of Tammuz. Like all other fasts except the Day of Atonement, commences at daybreak. But the fast of Ab, like the Day of Atonement, for 24 hours from evening to evening. And we have indication this by daybreak here would have meant dawn, because you start fasting with the dawn prayer. The restrictions which the Jew puts on himself on these occasions are endured as a mark of his mourning over the downfall of the holy city. These two fasts are ignored in a number of synagogues because their constituents regard the downfall of Jerusalem and Israel's dispersion an opportunity given in the wisdom of providence to Israel for the fulfillment of its mission. Although the memory of Jerusalem is cherished by all Jews during the day of these two fasts, various elegies are recited. On the fast of Ab, the Book of Lamentations is the scroll designated for reading in the synagogue and is chanted in distinctive minor key. In this connection, it is necessary to point to some of the other fasts observed by many Jews and to indicate the reasons for their celebration. They are the fast of Gedaliah on the 3rd day of the 7th month, Tishri, celebrated on account of the murder of Gedaliah, governor of Jerusalem, the fast of Tebeth on the 10th day of the 10th month, Tebeth in memory of the commencement of the siege of Jerusalem, and the fast of Esther on the 13th day of the 12th month, Adar, are in case of leap year the 13th day of the 13th month, Adar Sheni, in commemoration of the contemplated slaughter of the Jews of Persia. And they really have yet to find some historical reference for that, but the reason for it's still a functional myth, even if they can't prove it. But can it be disproved too? Is sort of the question we run into with that sort of stuff too.